It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 193.
Well, I'm here at the IFE reception. You can probably tell it's a little loud, but the guys have a cabana. You know the Hall of Famers, Bob Baer, Eric Dudas, Brian Musker, and George Hunt III. And we're right next to the youngsters, Mallory and Mike. So it's a lot of fun, but is it loud? It's loud. But a lot of lights. We've got lace that sparkle, thanks to Parker Fasteners. It's a lot of fun. I'm running around the IFE, and I have to stop over at Abbott Interfast to talk to Bob Baer, who made the Hall of Fame, but he's not here. So I'm talking with
Jackie.
Tell me, how do you guys feel about him making the Hall of Fame?
Very proud. He works really, really hard. He's involved, especially with the Midwest Fastener, so he's gone all the time. But we're all very proud of him at Abbott.
Was there a little cheer when it was announced? Did he keep it quiet? No one bothered.
He kept it quiet.
Kept it quiet.
He kept it quiet, and then he guilted me to come do the show. That's how I found out he was going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes. So he kept it quiet all the way to the show.
He did. Well, a couple days beforehand. So I videoed the speech to hold it against him later on, if necessary. But no, it was well-deserved. I'm very proud of him. Our entire company is.
Are you going to play that video in the lunchroom?
Absolutely. Especially the Freudian error he made.
Oh, and
instead of, I can't remember, suggesting or something like that, he said sexting.
Oh, that's right.
And that's on video. So that should be exciting.
That's right. Bob will weather that. He's been great for the industry.
Hey, all we can do is be like Bob when we grow up.
This is true.
Absolutely.
How about it? I totally agree with you there. All right. It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Yes, it's another episode of online, on-demand, predominantly fastener-related talk radio. So if Industrial Fasteners is your bailiwick, well, you clicked onto the right show. Thanks for being here, everyone. Eric Dudas with you. And I'm joined, as always, by the co-host of Fully Threaded Radio. If you can't be like GQ when you grow up, you want to be like this guy. He's the hardest working man in the online fastener game. He's Brian Musker. Hey, Bri. You must be digging out over there, too. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm gradually getting through all the emails and crap like that, and doing good, actually.
Yeah, they stacked up while we were in Vegas.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know. I get hundreds a day, and so the important ones get really snowed under everything else.
Yes, I've noticed that, and only the really, really urgent ones sometimes seem like they get attention, but eventually we get to them all. So
yeah, we do.
And folks, you're probably in the same position, so we really thank you for being here with us again. This is episode 193 of Fully Threaded Radio, and it's a biggie for us because we feel, I don't know how to say it really, Bri. I guess we'll let that unpack itself as we go along here today, but we had a life-changing experience in Vegas this time, and in a good way. In a good way.
Right. A life-changing surprise.
Well, yeah, we knew going into it that what was going to happen, but the whole thing was rather astounding. And the theme of the podcast today is the International Fastener Expo 23. That just wrapped up in Vegas for another year. Brian and I were out there along with the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey and a whole bunch of fastener people. On today's feature segment, we'll talk with Rosa Hearn of Brighton Best and Matt Boyd, Parker Fasteners. They'll give us their impressions on what went down in Vegas this year. And they've got an announcement that's super exciting. They let the news fly out there and we'll let them tell you all about it. But hint, hint, domestic sockets, Brighton? Yeah, it's a good one. Also on the episode today, we'll talk with Craig Penland of Eurolink Fastener Supply Service. He walked the aisles of the show this year and took in a whole new perspective. He's got a big announcement of his own to make. We'll let him speak for himself on that one. He'll launch into the news report today. Fastener technology editor Mike McNulty's got a full package of Fastener headlines for you, and he's joined by Baird analyst Quinn Fredrickson. The FDI dipped back down a little bit after the previous month's rally. They'll take a look at that for us. And on the Fastener Training Minute, Carmen Vertullo looks at the risks associated with plating socket screws. That's the Fastener Training Minute. He was out there in Vegas too, Bri, and I noticed that he was all set up for anyone who might have come by his booth over there at Carver Consulting and uttered the secret password, Afghanistan Bananistan.
Right. Well, I never knew what the secret password was, so I missed out on the pieces of chocolate.
Yeah, too bad for you. You're a aficionado of dark chocolate.
I know, I am. I love it.
That was the big prize, you know?
Right, yeah. Well, there'll be other shows.
I sent a few people over there to try and get the Vegemite taste out of their mouth.
Oh, you don't need any. Why would you want to get rid of that taste?
Yeah.
I hopefully left a few people with enough samples to get a taste and very carefully instructed them on exactly how to prepare it.
Yeah, I heard you giving those instructions. You are a true expert in that. I hope some of them took your advice because you wouldn't want to do that the wrong way.
I know. And the crazy thing is that on the second day, the people in the booth over the aisle from us, one of the people there, she kept looking at so strangely at us dealing with these people in these little packets of Vegemite. I finally gave up and went over and had a talk to her, explained that it's such a rare delicacy from Australia, and but you have to eat it rather carefully. So she promised to try it, but she was rather hesitant.
Well, I think you did your best to make a few more converts this year. Tell you, we ought to get a sponsorship from those guys.
Oh, I don't think they'll be selling that much of it over here. You have to grow up on it.
Yeah, you're probably right. We'll stick to fasteners. Fortunately, we do have a great lineup of partners in that department. And Bri, that is your area.
Yes,
fire away.
Yeah, well, no, we do have great sponsors, and lots of them we got to meet at the show. That's always great. The title sponsors are Fully Threaded Radio, Brighton Best International, Gerbil Fasteners, and Star Stainless Screw Company. Brighton Best International, tested, tried, and true. Gerbil Fasteners, quality the first time. Star Stainless Screw Company, right off the shelf. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, InSequel Software, J-Land Franco, Parker Fasteners, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, Worth Industry North America, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So think of these sponsors next time you're trying to find some fasteners, okay?
Reach out to us anytime, folks. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. You know, one other thing, Bri, about Carver Consulting and Carmen's booth, he recently launched his class of 2024 Fastener Experts Mentor Group, and I don't know how well the reunion of the previous group was, but he was aiming to get a class photo put together. Anyway, the new class is now in session, and there might be time still to get in on that.
Oh, okay. Well, for anyone who does, you're bound to learn tons about fasteners from Carmen and the other people in the group.
Yeah, we had a lot of them come over to the FCH booth and let us know how much they're enjoying being a part of that. So good to see everyone getting so much exposure through the show this year, as Carmen was. I tell you, every time you turned around, he was doing a session. And Jake did himself proud as well, because for BTM Manufacturing, the U-bolt blend was flowing. And I jumped on him a little bit, Bri, because he didn't have the coffee in his booth this year. And he pointed down the aisle and said, you got to go down to the main drag there. And they had that whole table set up with the BTM Zarfs on it and all the signage and everything, and lines of people there all gassing up for the day ahead. So good job, Jake.
He went through a lot of coffee, gallons and gallons of it.
The extended Valdez family was kept very busy.
Yeah, Juan was smiling.
And we've got a lot to keep us busy on today's episode, so we'll get right to it. So let's hear from a couple of our partners, then we'll get back and put a wrench to this one. What do you say, Bri?
Yep, it's right on.
So pour yourself a U-Bolt blend or whatever you have brewing over there, folks. We'll talk to you in just a minute. It's Fully Threaded.
Right here.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
At Star Stainless, the sum of all we do is what we consider star quality. It's not just the quality of the products or the service we offer, but the overall approach to the way we do business. Star Stainless Screw Company is a division of Linfast Solutions Group.
Goebel Fasteners increases efforts to maintain its reputation as the leading rivet source with a large inventory of parts and expedited delivery options. We have over $10 million worth of global inventory in stock at all times and pride ourselves on same-day or next-day shipping options that are available to all our customers. Goebel Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
BBI is your one-stop source for special per-print and hard-to-find items. Contact us for information about short-run parts, per-print, and part modification, including sourcing and rework items. BBI customers are now able to receive instant quotes directly for secondary processing. Visit BBI's quotation manager today at brightonbest.com. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best International. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit us at www.brightonbest.com.
You know your screws and your brews. That's why now there's a Bear brew just for the fastener industry. That's right. You drove all day to make that call. The beer you'll pour, it must be tall. Yeah. Old rusty bowl. Yeah. Sold those screws and bolts and nuts, and now it's time to fill your guts, that's clear. Old rusty boat, yeah. Forget about cold filtered, old rusty's cold-headed, for fastener people just like you. It's the beer that could have made Rockford, Illinois famous, until we had to start importing some of the pure 100% natural ingredients that go into every batch. It's got that full-threaded flavor, but with a third less oxides, so you can keep enjoying Old Rusty long after the warehouse or show floors close down for the day. That's also why Old Rusty's available in quarter kegs and now in convenient pallets too. Keep it flowing, house. Old Rusty Bowl.
Hello, this is Kevin Godin of AFC Industries. You are listening to Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Yeah, I think Jake said 50 gallons, but I wasn't sure in case I got the factor of 10 wrong. And they said it'd run out.
Wow.
Yeah. And it surprised him too, I think.
50 gallons of U-Bolt blend BT manufacturing coffee.
Sorry if I've got the factor of 10 wrong, but I just remember that number. But whatever it was a fairly large amount. So
Yeah, it was a party this year. And, we should just come right out with it, Bri, not footsie around with this anymore. I mean, we're just not the kind of guys who toot our own horns, really. But we were so honored to be a part of the Hall of Fame event this year. Many of you know, Brian and I were inducted into the Fastener Industry Hall of Fame. Our names are up there on the faux brick wall now, and that was an amazing experience, to say the least. Of course, along with us was Bob GQ Bear of Abbott Interfast and the MWFA, plus the youthful but prolific GH3, George Hunt III from Brighton Best.
Right, and we couldn't be happier to be inducted along with those two people. They're people we've got to know and worked well with and admire, okay? So it's good. I'm really glad. If it had to be anyone, it would be them.
Right, and we said during our presentation at the ceremony there in Vegas that we would cover a little bit of expanded thoughts on that topic on our next podcast because we were time restricted, and we will do that at the end of the episode today. So if you're interested, please hang out till the end. Also should mention that Mike Robinson with Star and Mallory from Advanced Components were the Young Fastener Professional Award recipients. That was a big deal too. So
yeah.
Altogether, we were, I don't know, I'd say a pretty good-looking crew up there. At least we were pretty well-dressed.
Yeah, I put on a jacket, which I haven't honestly done for the Fastener show for probably 10 years.
I noticed that, Bri. I was highly impressed, and not a golf shirt among us.
No, I especially changed my shirt, too.
I was halfway thinking that GQ or George would show up in a tux or something, but they were looking good, but they didn't go overboard. I thought it was all nicely done.
It was good. I gather from Eric that I spent most of my time doing the very same thing he tells me not to do when I'm recording the podcast, is sitting back away from the microphone, which apparently I did for the whole time I was up there.
Well, we could have used a little bit more volume on your mic, that's true, but you weren't alone. I noticed some of the other people who aren't as accustomed to using microphones did the same thing. You really have to get up, and they call it eating the mic if you really want to get your voice out there. But that's okay. We got the job done. We have another microphone issue to address, though.
Yeah, terrible issue.
Yeah, this one's a little hard to swallow, and most of you are used to hearing our array of clips. We put them together in a montage from the show floor. The lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey gets out there, mixes it up with everyone on the show. You never know who's going to be in her sites for those interviews. And this year we don't have a package like that to share with you because we had a very unfortunate audio situation happen.
Yeah, it's very, very bad. It seems like one of the microphones has a broken cable, and so only one microphone was going, so there's too much background noise being picked up, so except for the one that Lynn was holding. So we're going to have a little look at seeing how we can reprocess the sounds. Basically, some of the really good interviews are at the moment unusable, and that's really terrible because for all of us, including Lynn, because she put so much effort into going around and catching people and asking them, and had what she thought was great interviews, and at the moment, only a few of them are useful.
Yeah, so sorry about that, folks. I know a lot of you like to hear your voice on the show, and at this point, we're not going to be able to use much of it, but we'll see what you can come up with, Bri. You're kind of a wizard in that department. I heard what you did with my uncle's symphonic records after he passed away. You went through his library and did amazing things with those old Mercury records from some of those original symphony recordings. I don't know how you did all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Eric's uncle used to work for Mercury Records in Chicago, and unbeknown to me, he had a whole collection of vinyl LPs, all the Mercury corporate standard recordings from many of what were really come now to be considered great examples on great recordings. Some of them still regarded as among the best recordings ever made of some of these classical music, some of Beethoven's music. Very unusual that in 60 years they haven't really got they haven't got as good as some of these early recordings.
Well, you put out a whole slew of CDs, and you even grabbed the cover art from the original album covers, and you handed those out to the family, and what a treasure. So you're a multi-talented guy, Bri. You're a true Renaissance man.
Well, I had a little more time on my hands then, apparently, because I think I'd be struggling to do that now, but it was an interesting exercise, and I learned a lot from it. And Philips, under the Mercury label, which they bought, did release a set of them in the, 1990 as CDs. They're not arguably much better than the ones I made, actually. But this is the predominantly fastener-related part coming in, okay?
Right. Well, you're just a data guy, period, right? So your sound engineering expertise, does it translate over into your scrubber work? Because you're doing all this painstaking work with fastener data at the moment, and that project, I know over the years that this was a thing that you did over many years. It required a lot of just laborious, tedious kind of going through note by note at points, right?
Yes, that's true.
Well, all that work you do with the FCH scrubber is one of the reasons you're now a Hall of Famer, Bri. And it's one of the reasons the FCH sourcing network is a success, which it is. So thanks to you for that, Bri. And thanks to all of you out there who use the network and keep it chugging along. About 1.6 million listings out there these days at fastenersclearinghouse.com. You can get out there anytime you need to find a hard-to-locate inventory item, or maybe you're looking for a new vendor. You never know. FCH Sourcing Network. We're going to keep this a shorter segment, Bri, because we don't have a montage to stick in here, and we've got a couple of longer segments to plug in. I do have some golf results, though, from Vegas. But you're really wondering who took it all this year, aren't you?
I am. And I did actually listen to Morgan giving the results at the welcome bash on Monday night.
You could hear that?
I was sort of close. And I was standing next to Rob from InSequel, who was giving me a rundown on the golf.
Of course, Big Country from InSequel was in the race this year, but it was not to be. He had a pretty good run last year. But this year, first place at the International Fastener Expo Golf Extravaganza went to Fastening House, Inc. up there in Canada. Brandon Chapman, Jesse Schaefer, Jason Klapowicz, and Larry Briffett, if I pronounced that one correctly. Congratulations, gentlemen. I know it was highly competitive this year, and people were wondering if there'd be a repeat. Well, American Ring and B&D Cold-Headed Products took second and third respectively, so not a big surprise there. It was a tight pack. I think Big Country said that they scrambled at 15 under, so The winners were just absolutely on fire.
Yes, they were. Yeah, 15 under, you'd be sitting fairly complacent normally.
I tell you, if we ever do have that IFI versus NFDA event, those guys are going to have to bring in some hot iron because I tell you, the distributors are really playing some hot golf.
Yeah. No
reports of any injuries at this year's IFE tournament, Bri.
Really?
Or wildlife sightings either, that I heard.
Right. So no one had their golf cart parked in the middle of the fairway then?
Didn't hear of any golf carts rolling down into ponds or anything like that.
Oh.
Hey, speaking of the NCFA events, I don't think I told you, this year I was cruising the course with Tabitha. We were running the beer cart, or one of them, I should say. And actually, we got hit by a golf ball while we were sitting on one of the fairways waiting for a team to come off the tees.
Oh, God. Presume the drive was a little bit off kilter.
Well, no, there was really nothing that weird about it. We were just parked there hanging out, and suddenly, man, you saw that golf ball just doing a liner right at you, and you're like, no, is it really? And wham, just hit right off the cart, and it's a wake-up call.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah, things that happen on golf courses. I'm sure that's pretty common, but I don't spend so much time out there, but maybe that's one of the reasons why. Anyway, we were safe, and I think everybody made it off this year's IFE course just fine too. So again, congratulations to the winners out there. And if you're a Fastener golfer, I guess you better step up your game if you're ever going to take home the trophy in Vegas.
Right. Yeah, the stakes are sort of high now. They always were, actually.
Well, getting back to the show itself, I should point out that I did an impromptu episode of the Bolts and Hose podcast.
Really? How's that spelt?
Yeah, with H-O-S-E, Bri.
Okay.
Yeah, with Bryce and Chris from Patriot Bolt and Hans Fuller. Yeah, we were standing over at the Canadian Bolt Bar, which was a collaboration of Fuller Metric. Well, it's Fuller Fasteners now, as he actually points out on the podcast. And Pacific Bolt, Trevor and Hans were looking quite Canadian, shall I say. The drinks were flowing, and so it was Texas meets Canada meets Fully Threaded, and we had some fun, It's episode 27. It's out there on YouTube now. That's Bolts and Hose. I really wasn't expecting to do that, but, we even had a friendly neighborhood beaver involved in the conversation.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it all fell together, as it sometimes does out there in Vegas.
That's cool. Yeah. I saw Lynn and I saw Hans when they were setting everything up. It looked like it was more attention being paid to setting up a bar than a display of metric bolts, but so be it.
I tell you, pays off in the fastener industry. And Buckeye Fasteners knows that full well. Congratulations to the Buckeye team and Tony Martinez. By the way, congratulations not just for the old rusty bolt redux that you guys pulled off, but Tony and his wife just had their first baby, little Denver. His picture was being flashed around out there in his little fastener onesie, and Tony wasn't on the floor. And I said, "Hey guys, where's Tony?" And Rick had a picture of him on the phone, and just congratulations. Sorry you weren't there, but completely understand. Cute little guy.
Yeah, cool. You have to get your priorities right.
Well, he's got them. Old Rusty, and I'm not even going to say what the little onesie had on it, but I think Jason Baines from J. Lanfranco would approve.
Oh, okay.
He's into the nut jokes.
Yeah, he is.
Beacon had a pretty good bar going too. They provided my beverage for the Bolts and Hose segment. Well, we had a lot of fun on the main drag there and at the Canadian bar, and overall I'd say it was a pretty good show. We'll hear a little bit more during our segments today.
The show's a really great time for me to go around and meet a lot of our members, and sometimes it's the only time we do meet them, but I certainly met up with some of the members we've had really since we started. And it's really good to see, and they can tell you about, things they might want to see added or how they're doing. And it's a great way of really keeping in touch with all our members.
Yeah, good point. I was talking to Bob Reynolds of InSequel yesterday, reflecting on the show. He made his way out to the expo this year, which was good to see. And he had kind of a similar idea, Bri, because in the old days, he was always humping his way to, the next booth and trying to get people over to his booth. Yeah. And now he just kind of hangs back and all the customers come and they talk. And it's more like public relations, and intel gathering. So
yeah, and it is the same for us too. I mean, it's good. You get to know what people are thinking and how you get a lot of insight into what's the real sentiment in the industry. I mean, a lot of that's reflected in the FDI, really, but it's another way of picking up the same sort of numbers.
Yep. Well, with that, why don't we take a quick break and cut to our conversation with Craig. He'll lead us into the Fastener News Report, and we'll talk more about that FDI, because there's a headline that came out of this latest one. We really didn't spend too much time at all talking about it in Vegas this year. So many other things going on, but that's why we have the podcast.
That's right.
Thanks for clicking in, everybody. Brian and Eric with you here on Fully Threaded Radio.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
Hello.
Hello.
You've been walking the Fastener Show for a while?
Yes. However, I'm wearing very comfortable shoes.
How would you like some Old Rusty Bolt beer?
I'm not a smart man, but Mama warned me about these things.
Well, that's probably because Mama never tried Old Rusty Bolt. Only the finest beverage in the fastener business.
All right. I'll give it a try. This is pretty good. I'm starting to feel funny. Jenny! Something's happening. Whoa. I feel.
Sum of the square roots of any two sides of an isosceles triangle is equal to the square root of the remaining side.
Old Rusty Bolt, making the fastener world feel smarter, one beer at a time. So how do you feel?
I gotta pay.
I believe he said he had to pee. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud Fastener Show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman.
When the project calls for mission-critical bolted solutions, call J. Lanfranco.
My name is Tim Castiglia, and I work for BBA Project. I have been working with Jason and the Lanfranco team for over 15 years. The Lanfranco lock nut is an excellent lock nut to use if you have an application that has high vibration or varying temperatures. One of the best things about working with Lanfranco is their dependability. Jason went over and beyond what was required to make sure my customers' needs were met.
Precision, efficiency, durability. For over 40 years. JLanfranco.com.
This is Jake Davis, founder of the industry-renowned U-Bolt Blend Coffee and president of BTM Manufacturing. As a domestic manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products, our history as a family-owned business runs deep. My father, Joe Davis Jr., started in the fastener distribution industry over 50 years ago and has always instilled exceptional customer service into myself and our employees. Over the years, we've expanded our production facility to accommodate more projects, added machinery and tooling to increase our productivity, and increased our knowledge of products consistent with industry changes. However, one constant has always been our customer service-focused mentality. In an imperfect world, we always strive to put our customers first. It's the way I was taught, and it's the way I've continued to operate our business. BTM Manufacturing, a commitment to service.
Cut the no quotes out of the equation. Eurolink is your go-to resource for uncommon and hard-to-find metric fasteners that others can't even quote. Contact the sales team at EurolinkFSS.com and get your hard-to-find metric fasteners delivered.
Hi, this is Rob, Big Country Reynolds of N-Sequel Software, coming to you from the 19th hole, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, digging out from Vegas. You're digging out, right, Bri?
Oh, yeah, I've got a whole day of sitting and dealing with emails. I've got a great day ahead of me, okay?
Oh, yes. Yes, we're all there.
Yeah, I know.
Another guy who's just like that today, it's Craig Penland from Eurolink. Saw you walking out there, Craig, at the show this year. Good to see you. Hi.
Hey, guys. Nice to talk with you. I don't know if walking is the correct word. Probably more limping than walking, but yes, I did make the trip out and got to see you guys and got to see a lot of others. It was good.
Well, when I saw you coming down the hallway, Kim was sort of holding your elbow there a little bit, and you were hobbling just a little bit, but how you healing up after the mud race in August? You got that knee injury out on the race course.
I did. I ended up tearing my ACL in my left knee and probably doing a little bit more damage than just that. But I've got the surgery scheduled for at the beginning of the year, January 3rd. And then from my understanding, it will probably take me around 6 months or so to recover from that. But I've actually been through this before. I tore my ACL back in 2007, 2008, the same one. And I've actually had 3 other knee surgeries on that same knee. So I'm probably immune to some of the pain that a lot of people experience with this, which is thus the reason I'm able to kind of move around a little bit more. So, but no, Kim holding my hand and holding my arm is probably something I need to get used to, because it's probably going to be that way for many years to come at my age.
Well, you're a lucky guy in that department, that's for sure. Let me say that.
Yes,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's worse things you could have than have Kim wandering around holding your arm, okay?
You're absolutely right. I could be surrounded by a bunch of Raiders and Packers fans. That's what could be worse.
Oh, God.
I mean, have you ever seen so many Raiders fans in one spot in your life?
Or Green Bay Packers fans, okay, all of whom had little too much to drink.
Yeah, it was pretty intense being there after that game let out. So, folks, as you may know, the Raiders Stadium is right there by Mandalay, and the Monday night game was there. So on the opening day, it was the clash of the football fans and the Fastener fans. And there's some overlap there too, isn't there?
There was a lot of overlap in that. I mean, you knew that it was going to be slam full of Raiders fans, and I've always heard that Packer fans travel well. But that I was extremely impressed with how many showed up for the Monday Night Football game. But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, they get a chance to take a vacation out to Vegas. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the whole idea. And travel well in a manner of speaking. I get your point, Craig.
Absolutely. I mean, now I could do without all the cheesehead hats.
Exactly.
But the rest of it I'm okay with.
Well, speaking of traveling, a lot of folks traveled out to Vegas, and it was for the Fastener show, and that was why you were there. Now, you weren't exhibiting with Eurolink this year, but you were out there gathering info, shaking hands. What was your impression of this year's IFE?
I thought that the reason for my being there just to see people, see friends, and see people that I've gotten close with over the last couple of years in the industry. I got to see all those people. So for me, it was a success. Now, as somebody that did not exhibit, I can't tell you what it was like for them. I do know that there were certain aisles that seemed busier than other aisles as we were walking up and down them, but I just got to see a lot of good people from this industry and got to spend some time catching up here before the end of the year. So I was happy. Most importantly, American Airlines didn't screw up. So that was a huge positive in this travel. But I thought the show did okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, for some people that we met in the airport on our flight back yesterday, American Airlines did screw up rather royally, okay? For Heidi Voltaire and her team, it was a bit of a mess.
Oh, boy. Well, it seems like airline delays are kind of built into all travel these days. That's just something we live with.
Yeah, but yeah, I had a great time with you guys. I had a great time with others. I mean, I know the FTI classes on Monday went very well. Carmen and the guys did a great job with that. I'm not a golfer, but I got an opportunity to speak with Rob Reynolds at Insequel, and they thought that they shot the best golf that they've ever shot, being 1,500, and still didn't get to take home the hardware at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was talking to Rob about that too. He said, I just can't believe that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I don't know, I thought the bash at the daylight pool, even though that we were there at nighttime, I thought that was great. I thought that the cabanas that you guys had was very well set up. It was great to see all the participants from the mud run coming back and wearing their medals that they had obtained while they were up there. So I thought that was great. And then you get to day one of the show and, got an opportunity to see a lot of friends, as I spoke about before. Then you had Brighton Best party afterwards, which Michael White giving away all those wonderful gifts and the good food. I mean, you can't beat that. But I got to tell you guys about a small story. So after BBI's party, we decided to hang out with Lyndon and Lonnie from Smart Circle.
Okay, always fun.
Yes, and always fun. So we were trying to find a place, it was, about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So we were trying to find a place that was kind of quiet, that we could actually talk. And so we kind of started walking around the hotel. And at this point, there's still a tremendous amount of Raiders and Packers fans.
Yeah, I know.
So Lyndon says, I've got this. And he goes into some room. I have no clue what's happening behind this door, but he comes out of this room. He's done some kind of private secret handshake inside the room, and he's been given the directions to the infamous Four Seasons Lounge, which seems to be in some lower level of the hotel, and there's only like 20 people that know it's there.
Score.
So after walking down a bunch of stairs, we get to this lounge. It's absolutely wonderful, and you can actually hear each other talk.
Really?
So just a huge shout out to Lyndon for taking us on that joy ride and knowing who to talk to and when to talk to him to get us down to that lounge.
Well, those guys have the secret sauce, that's for sure. That's why they're pushing Smart Cert to higher levels every time you turn around. So that's a great story, man.
Huh.
Yeah. And speaking of Smart Cert, I know that we got asked quite a bit while we were out there about this new regulation that's going on over in Europe. I believe it's Regulation 833, 2014. And that is something that just went into effect at the beginning of this month. And I'm going to kind of hold off on giving my opinion of it at this moment, as I'm still trying to learn all the details of this regulation and what is going to be required of European distributors shipping goods all over the world. But if you're a customer of ours and you're wanting to find out more about this, please just give us a little bit of time. We've got some meetings in the coming week or two to get those details so that we can be very informed when it comes to taking care of our customers here in the United States.
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about this in Vegas, and it sounds kind of important, and you want to get it all right. But I think our listeners, especially those who have anything to do with distributors over there, they're going to want to know about this. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, right.
Not a problem. I know it's detailing the details of the regulation are referring to where the raw material comes from, and they're trying to prevent distributors around the world of buying goods that the raw material came from Russia. So there seems to be requiring some sort of document or letterhead or something to say that the raw material was not poured in Russia, obviously due to this war with the Ukraine. But how they're going to do that and when that is actually going to start is what's kind of up in the air. So we will find out those details and we will get them out to everybody just as soon as we do.
Right. Say what you will about the motivation or the actual implementation of any of that. The fact is that it's probably going to result in some bureaucratic fun for everybody.
This is correct. And you never know what the cost is going to be because, Europe has never been one of those that wanted to give away those material certifications for free. So we'll see. We'll check into it and we'll find out and let everybody know.
Much appreciated, Craig. Vegas was an experience again, and it's hard to believe it's over already, but swoosh, here we are on the other side, and now we're all cleaning up after it. Well, it was great to see you, Craig, and you said that business, despite the FDI dipping a little bit, still pretty good for Eurolink, and got any detail on that you can share? How's things in your specific market from your perspective?
Well, there's times throughout the year this year, I've kind of looked at year over year sales and been a little disappointed. We're down based on 2022 sales. But a few months back, I was listening to a podcast, economic podcast, and they were basically talking about you should really be comparing your sales this year more to 2021 rather than 2022. So I went back and did that, and we're actually up on 2021. So in a year that we moved to be up on 2021, I'm ecstatic. I am very, very happy with that. And as a matter of fact, as I ran into other business owners out in Vegas, I actually asked them this exact same question. What does your sales look like this year as compared to 2022 and 2021? And it seems like there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of throwing 2022 to the side and doing exactly what I did and compare it to 2021.
Huh, interesting comment. Okay.
I just don't know if you can honestly say that there's ever going to be an opportunity for 2022 to happen again. It was just when everything lined up perfectly coming back off of COVID and everybody wanting to fill their shelves and put as much inventory as possible in. And so the sales were just sky high. And then it kind of leveled off at the end of 2021 end of 2022. And this year has just been kind of steady. I mean, not a lot of ups and downs, just steady.
Right. Got it. Well, you certainly used that period of building back to gain some momentum and do some incredible things, right? Because this whole time you've been creating this great new distribution center and you've got a grand opening coming up. What's that all about?
We do. So back in the fourth quarter of 2020, we're all going through the whole COVID issue. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And like I do every year during that time, I take off the week between Christmas and New Year's just to do as much hunting as I can. And anytime I can get out in the woods and just sit there with complete silence, it allows me to think and think about the future. And it was in one of those hunting trips that I just made the decision that I was going to move forward as fast as I could, that I wasn't going to be concerned with the what ifs, and I was just going to try to make as much happen positive for our company as possible. So I did that with my staff. We've hired numerous people over the last couple of years, very experienced people over the last couple of years. And we also in 2021 purchased some land, and towards the end of 2021, 2022, we decided to get started on building that new facility. And, like with any construction project going on right now, with the lack of material out there, there was a couple of delays this year that made it extremely tough on us and the company, but we were able to get through that. And early August, we finally got moved in, finally got settled. My staff did an absolute amazing job on this move, made it very, very easy on me. And, got a couple other things under our belt, got a couple shipments in that we were hoping to get in and get sorted, and a couple vacations out of the way in the month of September, and then a couple trade shows as well. And now, coming up on the 27th this month, Friday the 27th, we're going to have our grand opening party. And we've invited hundreds of people to it. Obviously, we didn't know everybody's email address that we wanted to invite. So we just kind of sent out some open invitations as well. And we basically said, something, if you want to come to South Carolina and you want to spend a Friday night with us, come on. You're more than welcome to come. And we're just going to have a great time. We've, got live music, got a great band coming in, got Southern barbecue being served, ice cold beer and wine. And, we're just going to enjoy what God has given us with a couple hundred of our best friends.
I love it, Craig. We're going to crack open the top of Eurolink Fastener Supply Service New World headquarters out there in South Carolina. Congratulations to you, Kim, and your whole team.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of congratulations, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. Let's see. We got Mr. GQ. We got GH3. We got Mallory. We got Michael. And am I leaving somebody out?
No, you're not, Red. No, it's fine.
Yes,
that's very
we
good.
got the guys from Fully Threaded Radio. Congratulations, Mr. Eric and Mr. Brian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I sure do appreciate that, Craig. I'm glad you were out there to experience that with us. It was tremendous.
Yeah.
That was great, guys. That was great. I love seeing the introductions. I think everybody that got up there to do the introductions did an amazing job. I love seeing you guys as family there to come into town for that. That was impressive. But, like we spoke about out there, kind of, which us that have known you for a long time, we didn't need affirmation of what value you guys bring to the industry, but it kind of cemented it for you guys. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you guys have accomplished. It was great seeing Lynn get that award, 2 months ago, what she's accomplished in this industry. And then to get to see you guys get this award out in Vegas, that was wonderful. I had a great time with that.
Much appreciated, Craig.
Very nice to say that, Craig, actually.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And of course, we are so grateful to all the partners that we've had along the way who've made it all possible. And, I didn't say it previously, but this is the news segment of the podcast. And that has been sponsored for many years by Volt Industrial Plastics. I saw Heidi out there in Vegas, but I didn't get a chance to talk to her. It was such a whirlwind. Thank you very much for all your support, Heidi. And the title sponsors of Fully Threaded, Brighton Best, Global Fasteners, and Star Stainless. And of course, the great Eurolink is another one. And here you are, Craig, and this great news of the grand opening in South Carolina coming up. Everybody's invited. Fantastic. I'm so glad you were able to take a minute out of your dig out today and hop on with us.
Hey, no, it's my pleasure. I'm gonna get out of here very shortly and go take a weekend away, unplug, set up in the mountains and do absolutely nothing for 3 or 4 days.
Craig Penland, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service. Always good to hear from you. Thanks for all of the support and encouragement you've given us over the years. Now you can help us one more time because you know it's the news segment. You know what that means.
And now, for news about screws that you can use, here is Mr. Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Craig. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. The top 3 MLB baseball teams are out of the playoffs. Thousands of auto workers are refusing to work. The metaphoric guardrails on the cartoonish legislative branch of our federal government might be gone for good, and barbaric, genocidal terrorists are destroying people, places, and peace. But I have just traveled to and from the Fastener Show in sunny Las Vegas, and I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Quinn Fredrickson, Vice President, Senior Research Associate at Baird, joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on Optimus Solutions, as well as newsmaker headlines from Norm Fasteners, AFC, the EJOT Group, PacWest, Fastenal, Worth, Granger, Abbott Interfast, and more. On the back page report, we're going to talk about the 2023 edition of the International Fastener Expo, also known as IFE 2023. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
When price is a big concern and you don't have high tensile strength requirements to worry about, ever think to yourself, why not plastic? Hey everyone, it's Heidi from Volt Industrial Plastics. Next time you need to find a solution that requires keeping costs as low as possible, give Volt a call and put our team of skilled customer service representatives to work for you. Plastic fasteners can make sense on a wide range of applications that you might not have considered before and provide your customers with big savings. So the next time you have trouble with price and delivery, just think, why not plastic? From everyone here at Volt Industrial Plastics, thanks for another great year. And you know the website, it's voltplastics.com.
We all know this is about winning the war on notebooks. We can't do that without the ability to offer hard-to-find metric fasteners, manufactured to ISO and DIN standards. Delivered fast, faster, or as fast as your star-spangled man with a plan. Every quote you request, Eurolink fulfills. Help keep America's workers armed and ready with any metric fastener in the multiverse. With Eurolink, you get what you want when you want it. Eurolink, hard-to-find metric fasteners, delivered.
Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for September 2023 retreated to 48.5 versus a neutral reading of 50.0 in the previous month, the sixth sub-50 result of the last 7 months. The forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, also dipped slightly to 44.8 versus 45.9 the previous month. This is the 14th straight sub-50 FLI, but the second highest result of the year. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Quinn Fredrickson, Vice President, Senior Research Associate at Baird. Hi, Quinn. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Great to be with you.
It's good to have you back. It's been a while, and I think the listeners are looking forward to hearing the insight from the man who actually puts the reports together. So what do you think about the latest FDI and FLI results?
Yeah, I think first, I'd put it in context of, we're coming off in August where we reached our first 50 or better reading. since February. And just as a reminder, 50 means neutral or stable demand conditions, and anything above 50 means conditions are improving. So just getting back to that 50 after a long streak here of sub 50 was encouraging. But at the time, we did comment that there could be a little bit of a pent-up demand factor, as a lot of people seem to take vacations in July. You also had some slowness around the 4th with maybe some extended plant shutdowns. And we heard that in the comments from some respondents as well. And we noted at the time that the forward-looking indicator was also pretty decidedly sub 50. So we're worried it was a little bit of a mirage, and lo and behold, it did prove to be a bit of a head fake on us, as September, as you mentioned, came back down to sub 50 at 48.5. But, I think I would note that it's still not a terrible reading by any stretch, but clearly indicating a bit of deceleration. And I just think conditions looked a lot more like they had the rest of 2023 as opposed to that artificially inflated August number. As you mentioned on the FLI, looking forward here, did come in a little bit softer as well versus last month at 44.8, based on a little bit heavier customer inventory levels and some softer employment numbers. So, I think that would indicate to us that on balance might be in for maybe a little bit more deceleration, or very similar to what we saw here in September, as opposed to, again, getting back to that over 50 number.
Yeah, and it is, like I mentioned, it's the second highest one FLI of the year, so that's not a bad thing. But things did cool. We had as you said, the head fake. I like that basketball reference. Got everybody thinking maybe we're going to continue, but actually just coming back to what it has been going into the last month of the summer, and now we're headed we're actually in the fall now, so things have definitely settled down. Looking into the actual numbers themselves, I noticed that the sales, employment, and delivery numbers all dropped slightly, while inventories ticked up a little bit and pricing was mixed. Anything you want to add on the actual raw numbers?
Yeah, I think on the pricing side, not terribly surprising, just what we're seeing, given what we're seeing in commodities and steel. And there were some comments, I believe, talking about, incoming freight from overseas has normalized quite a bit. So all that, I think, filtering down into pricing, not terribly surprising. And then, as you mentioned on the sales side, definitely a weaker month again relative to August, given some of that, I think, artificial demand. We had, I believe it was 16% of respondents that said sales were a little bit better than their seasonal expectations, definitely lower than last month at 37%, but fairly consistent, I would say, with what we saw for most of this year and kind of the latter stages of 2022, as demand conditions and the economy overall have moderated a little bit, as intended, with the Fed rate hikes that we've been seeing. So I think it was pretty consistent again with generally the tone we've been seeing out there for much of this year.
Yeah, the sales dipped down from what they were in August, but still twice as the numbers twice as high as the worst one of the year, which was July, which was 22, and we're up almost at 45 in September. So a little lower, but not doomsday.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay, let's see what else we have. The 6-month outlook. I noticed a little bit of a shift. We had a shift from declining. A lot of respondents moving from the declining category to the unchanged category, and they're looking at what they think is going to happen 6 months down the road. And the numbers came in at 23% expect conditions to be better. 57%, more than half expecting it to be the same or unchanged, and then only 20% expecting it to be worse. So that was an improvement from the previous month, where we had 37% of the respondents thinking things were going to be worse. So I think I take that as a little bit of a favorable result.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's consistent with, if you track the PMI put out by ISM, we've seen a couple months here of improvement, still sub 50, but does seem like that's trending up a little bit better. So, hopefully that trend continues and maybe we're past the worst of the down cycle here. But obviously a lot of wild card factors out there in terms of auto strikes and where the Fed goes from here. So a lot to watch, certainly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last month when we recorded this, the strike was just getting started while we were recording it. Now it's about a full month of activity, and I saw some healthcare Kaiser employees going on strike as well. That doesn't really affect production, but it could affect the general economy. But you brought up the PMI, and that's a good point. I saw that came in at 49 this past month, and that's the highest, I think, of the year. So explain to the listeners a little bit about what PMI, that's the purchasing index.
Yeah, exactly. It's a survey of purchasing managers. So just looked at as a broader barometer of the health of the industrial economy, and believe the statistic is we've now seen 11 months of sub 50 ISM. So very consistent with the trend that we've been seeing here in the FDI, where things just are getting a little bit decelerating, a little bit worse every single month. But if you look at the historical pattern, usually what happens is we've got about 12 months or so of sub 50 ISM. And, given we're at 11 months, I think a lot of people are looking at that now and saying, are we close to the end here? Something we still have to monitor going forward, given some of those factors I mentioned, but clearly having, now 2 or 3 straight months of month over month improvement, and at 49, just right on the cusp of that 50 level that indicates stability, it's certainly a positive indicator.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with the PMI next month. I know most listeners are tuned into the FDI and the FLI, but that was an interesting development as well. Let's see. Let's move on to some of the commentary. We had a lot of good comments this time around, and what I usually do, I'll go through these comments, and then you can jump in with any comments that you want to add to the comments. The first one is customers still refuse to stock anything and then get mad when we don't have enough to fill their orders completely. Nobody wants to place a blanket order or even a stock and release. Too much caution on their part, and yet it ends up being our fault, end quote. So a little bit of grumbling between the customer and the supplier. Next one was the economic outlook from industry resources are conflicting, but we see business normalizing at a level far less than the past couple of years, but above pre-pandemic levels. So that's a good thing. I think, when people say that, we recovered everything from before the pandemic and performing better than that, I'm hearing a lot of that from different folks. How about you?
Yeah, that's certainly a key theme out there I agree with. And I think the other thing that was interesting, that comment, they used the word mixed. I think it was mixed or conflicting. That was the word that they used, conflicting. And somebody else also said mixed signals overall. And I just think between those two comments, that's a common theme. And I think we're seeing that as well as you look at the stock market. This year we had a pretty strong run here. It felt like everybody was kind of under the impression that we were maybe in hope that the hopes that we had for a soft landing were going to be achievable. We were getting close to the Fed rate hike cycle being over. And then, here recently, we've had a couple of really strong jobs numbers reports, and that volatility has picked up again. And all of a sudden, we're talking about, potential more rate hikes being on the table. So I think the stock market is reflecting those mixed signals as well. We're trying to decide between bulls and bears and where this is all going. But I think mixed is a great way to put it.
So it's we're going to have a mixed rest of the year, I think. The next comment is, quote, I've been in close contact with my top 10 customers. A majority of them are slow in getting orders right now. They cannot pinpoint it exactly, but just my thought is everyone's a little concerned about the next year's election and is playing everything pretty close to the vest. I'm like, we're over a year away from the election. I don't think we ever stopped talking about the election, and now we're up to...
Definitely, yeah. And then, you throw on top of it the chaos we're seeing in the House of Representatives right now, and the potential for a shutdown. I think we've got maybe a month or so left before that agreement expires. So definitely, politics have everybody on edge right now, even a year out to that next election.
Right? Are there any adults in the in the halls of Congress?
Doesn't appear to be so.
There's some there, but I guess they're just afraid to get out into the mix. I don't know. We'll see. Next comment. Continued mixed signals overall. That's one you referred to. Some customers continue to have strong demand while others are on the sidelines waiting for their customers to get busy again. The next one, it's a little bit longer one. It says, master distributor deliveries are pretty good. Stelfast, Brighton Best, XL, Star, etc. USA manufactured parts are somewhat concerning. We're getting quotes of 8 weeks from the factories. We quote 9 to 10 weeks, adding a little padding for our customers. But that delivery turns into 12 to 16 weeks. I think that has something to do with getting qualified labor for the people actually doing the cold and hot heading of bolts, end quote. So that's interesting. You know, a lot of talk about reshoring and nearshoring and manufacturing getting ramped up again. But this commentary is complaining about lead times. So any insight there?
I think it's a good reminder that even though I think it's a fair statement to say that supply chain has gotten a lot better relative to where we were certainly in 2021 and 2022, but clearly not back to pre-pandemic levels of lead times or reliability. So still not fully out of the woods there yet. And then I think the labor comment was interesting as well. As I mentioned, we're still seeing really strong numbers of job additions every single month, but there's actually more openings than there are available workers. So it's still not resolved on that factor either.
Yeah, I think that's a problem that's here to stay for a while. Then the last comment we had, this is just pretty much a positive one. We'll end on a positive note. It says, quote, sales are good, profits are steady, expectations are good until the end of the year, end quote. This person thinks things are just going to be good for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, like you said, it's not all doom and gloom. So good to see that some folks are seeing, pretty good trends. I'd say that's probably the minority of respondents, but it's good that there is some positivity out there.
Well, most everybody in the industry is getting ready to go out to the Las Vegas show, and actually this will be released after the Las Vegas show. But the anticipation, the excitement for the show seems pretty good. So that's another thing to throw into the mix. It looks like they're going to have one of the best Las Vegas Fastener shows since before the pandemic. So that's an interesting anecdote to add to the FDI and FLI mix.
Absolutely. Yeah, not a bad place to be having that either.
Yeah. So before we move on and give you a chance to tell the listeners what's going on at Baird and with you, anything else you want to add on the FDI or the FLI?
I think we mostly we mostly covered it, Mike. I'd just say, as it relates to kind of the broader environment, we always look certainly at Fastenal, their fastener sales, and yeah, I'd say the picture there is pretty similar to what we're seeing in the FDI. They've had 4 consecutive months of year-over-year declines in their fastener sales, down in August close to 4%, and seeing a little bit of pricing deflation as well. So I think it's a pretty consistent read with some of the themes that we've talked about.
Yeah, that's a good reference point to bring up to finish it off. So, and I think, a lot of listeners know, maybe some who are new don't know that, but you're the one who actually puts together the reports that people get when they participate in the survey process. So, thanks for doing that, and you do a good job with it. Anybody who wants to join in the process will get your detailed analysis.
Yes, we're always looking to grow, so appreciate the shout out.
Good. So we'll give you a final chance to talk about anything going on with new at Baird or with you and that you want to tell the listeners.
Yeah, we're excited here at Baird. We'll be having our big industrial conference in Chicago in early November. So we'll be hosting hundreds of different publicly traded and some private companies as well in the broader industrial distribution and just industrial space in general. So we always look forward to getting the pulse on what's going on in the industrial economy at that event and hosting lots of investors to meet with different companies. So we're looking forward to that event.
Very good. Now you're based in Milwaukee, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
And I was looking at I might be wrong on this. That the convention center there is now called the Baird Center. Has that been a long-term thing, or is that a new naming right?
It's a new naming right.
Okay.
I think within the last maybe 3 or 4 months that has been announced, I believe.
Yeah, I came across that, and I'm like, I don't remember it being called the Baird Center. So
yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Always looking to grow the brand, and Milwaukee being where we're based. I think the firm was excited about the opportunity to have the Baird brand be front and center there. So hopefully, if that fastener show ever comes to Milwaukee, we can maybe host you at the Baird Center.
Yeah, right. Well, I cover another industry, the wire and cable industry, and we have a show there every every May. It's the wire harness industry. So I'm fond of Milwaukee. It's a good city and a good state.
Yes, we love being here.
Okay, now I have one final question to you that is not Fastener or FDI or FLI related. But I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn, and it says you're a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. So I've got one question for you. I was wondering if you saw the Notre Dame-Ohio State football game.
Unfortunately, I did. I'm wishing that I could erase that from my memory right now, Mike. But thank you for reminding me of it. But no, it was nice to see us recover this past weekend.
Duke,
and yeah, we got a good win. Another last-second game. So I'm going to have to go visit my cardiologist, I think, and get my heart checked out after these last couple weeks.
Get the knife removed from your heart.
Exactly.
Now, the reason I brought it up is I graduated from Ohio State in 1985, probably before you were born. But and my daughter went to graduate school at Notre Dame, so I like both teams. And I was in South Bend for the game, not in the stadium, but we were on campus and around town watching the game, and it was just a really great atmosphere and lots of scarlet and gray to go with the green and blue, and I would say a classic football game.
That's fun. Yeah, I won't hold it against you that you're an Ohio State guy. So
yeah, so I had Ohio State hat on and a Notre Dame shirt, and it caused a lot of confusion with people. They wanted to know what I was doing, and I said I'll be happy however it ends. So
yeah, you should have done the split jersey with Brady Quinn, half Ohio State, half Notre Dame. Yeah.
And I think there was a bowl game when they played each other, and I think Brady Quinn's sister was dating one of the Ohio State players. I can't remember. The linebacker, I believe, one of the linebackers.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
All right. Well, good. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the show, talking about FDI and FLI, and providing the insight, and also doing a good job on putting all the reports together.
Yeah, appreciate you for having me on. Thanks again, Mike.
That was Quinn Fredrickson. He's Vice President, Senior Research Associate at Baird. The FDI number for September 2023 was 48.5 versus 50.0 in August. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. Optimus Solutions, headquartered in Wooddale, Illinois, will open a cold-form fastener manufacturing plant in Monterrey, Mexico in the second half of 2024. The production center will complement Optimus's existing fastener manufacturing facilities in Wooddale and at Droitwich in the UK, and it will continue the company's nearshoring efforts to minimize supply chain risk. Ricardo Alzano Rodriguez, Vice President and General Manager of Optimus in Mexico, says, quote, "We designed the Mexico facility to mirror our capabilities at our manufacturing operations in Wooddale, so they can effectively play off of each other. This ensures access to the same engineering, tooling, manufacturing, and quality processes regardless of where we produce the fasteners," end quote. Daniel Harms, Optimus's CEO of the Americas, added, quote, "Our expanding localization strategy enables us to be more agile with our manufacturing and sourcing capabilities for industrial customers and suppliers," end quote. Optimus says that by working with a full-service distributor that is also a manufacturer, industrial producers can take advantage of multiple procurement paths and be supported by automated replenishment services, predictive analytics, engineering creativity, a certified quality management system, and existing carrier relationships that ensure reliable delivery. The Mexico expansion news was announced publicly at a well-attended and enjoyable reception at the IFE Fastener Show in Las Vegas. Fully threaded roving reporter Lynn Dempsey attended the Optimus reception and asked Ricardo Alonso Rodriguez what the announcement means for companies looking to nearshore their supply chain, and he had this to say.
Talking about nearshoring, Monterrey area, Monterrey, Mexico, it's been in the spotlight, 75% of the foreign investment that is happening in Mexico now is happening in this region. So for our customers having, the opportunity to gather all the parts and material closer, faster, and have the ability, for us to be a little bit more flexible on timing, that's what they are looking at. They are looking for flexibility, availability, and also mitigating risk.
You can see a picture of Ricardo and Daniel from the Optimus reception on page 1 of the upcoming October 23rd edition of the Fastener News Report newsletter, available online at fastenertech.com. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In corporate news, Vossloh was commissioned to supply rail fastening systems for 2 high-speed lines in China. Norm Fasteners plans to build a manufacturing facility in Michigan. TFC, an AFC Industries company, opened a service center in Wales. Swiss Turn USA purchased the assets of Malden Centerless Grinding. The EJOT Group opened a new tech center. And Blackhawk Industrial integrated Big Red Fasteners into its fastener portfolio. In personnel news, the Pacific West Fastener Association, also known as PacWest, elected Hans Fuller of Fuller Metric as president, George Martinez of Brighton Best International as vice president, Ryan McCaffrey of Pacific Coast Bolt as secretary-treasurer, and Clay Weaver of Industrial Threaded Products as immediate past president. Whitecap announced the upcoming retirement of CEO John Stegeman and the subsequent promotion of Alan Solenberger. Fastenal Company appointed Anthony Boersma as Executive Vice President Operations. Worth MRO Safety and Metalworking, a division of Worth Industry North America, appointed Bastian Rottenberg as its Chief Executive Officer. And Grainger named Matt Fortin as Chief Human Resources Officer. In milestone and award news, Abbott Interfast celebrated its 75th anniversary this past September, and the IFE Group marked 120 years of innovation this year. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International Magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about the International Fastener Expo 2023 in Las Vegas. Congratulations to the organizers, exhibitors, sponsors, content presenters, attendees, and convention hall workers for a successful and enjoyable Fastener show in Las Vegas earlier this month. Advanced registration numbers were reported as well ahead of the 3,500 people that attended in 2022, while the number of exhibits surged by 44% to a pre-pandemic level of more than 650 companies from North America and beyond. There was a noticeable surge of international exhibits this year, and the leading non-USA exhibitor countries in order were China, Taiwan, India, Turkey, Germany, Canada, and Italy, with a few others coming from Brazil, Korea, Japan, Southeast Asian nations, Mexico, the UK, and Spain. It was encouraging to see that the number of new exhibitors more than tripled to 100 when compared to 2022. As is always the case, I enjoyed walking the show floor and attending the educational sessions and networking events located all over the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. And walk I did as my not-so-smart iPhone told me that I logged more than 25 miles over 4 days in Las Vegas. There were lots of great exhibits filled with fasteners, industry professionals, fastener making and measuring equipment, as well as great exhibit stands, images, logos, and giveaways. In addition to the very large exhibit companies such as Brighton Best International and the LinFast Solutions Group, a few of the many ones that grabbed my attention this year for creativity, graphics, hospitality, and/or equipment on display included Patriot Bolt, Batching Systems, Volt Industrial Plastics, OSG, Soling Impact, Rotor Clip, Ken Forging, Pat Mooney Saws, Advanced Components, Dorkin, Trueform Equipment, Pivot Point, Cinco Industries, Women in the Fastener Industry, Buckeye Fasteners, Brainerd Rivet, and the Canadian Bolt Bar. Away from the exhibits, I spent a good amount of time in the exhibit hall sessions stage for many informative presentations. Highlights for me were the introduction and acceptance speeches at the Hall of Fame and Young Fastener Professional Award Ceremony, Sherrick's presentation on rivet nuts, Alox's talk on sci-fi technologies for distributors, and the panel sessions on mentorship, family succession planning, and adapting to changes in the fastener industry. There are also many things going on outside of the exhibit hall, and my favorites this year were Brighton Best International's October Best Festival, Optimus's Efficiency Up reception, and the Taiwan Fastener Showcase titled Bolting into the Future. Feedback from exhibitors and attendees was mostly positive, but it was mixed and peppered with comments about a few poorly located booths and the usual slowdowns at and after lunchtime. So perhaps more food and beverage options or entertaining networking events in the exhibit hall could be considered for future shows. Overall, my key takeaway is that IFE 2023 was an excellent and well-executed trade show experience that serious fastener industry professionals should plan on attending in 2024. Visit fastenershows.com for details on the International Fastener Expo, and watch out for Fastener Technology International's Straight from the Show report on IFE 2023 coming up in the December-January issue, available online at fastenertech.com. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Gerbil Fasteners has consistently increased its stock inventory in Houston, Texas, as well as focused on developing new, innovative battery-powered cordless tools to improve industry efficiency. Our company's strategy is to provide a level of quality and innovation that stands out among the rest. If you are interested in being part of a brand that is revolutionizing the industry, make sure to contact Gerbil Fasteners today to see what we have to offer. Gerbil Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. InSequel delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. Quality software, affordable pricing, industry-leading support. Only InSequel can deliver all three. www.inxsql.com.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are Solution.
Well, hi, everyone. This is Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Labs in beautiful El Cajon, California. Today's lesson is one that we have probably covered before, but not as comprehensively as we're going to cover today. As many of these topics came from a client inquiry that ended up resulting in a very nice training session with my client's customer, because that customer did not understand the risks associated with plating socket screws. And yes, part of that is hydrogen embrittlement, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But in this case, it was a different risk, and we're going to talk about that one as well. So if you are selling, using, plating socket screws in any way, you really want to listen to this. And when I come back, I will tell you all the risks and how to control them that are associated with plating alloy steel socket head cap screws.
At Worth, status quo isn't an option. Worth is a global supply chain solutions provider of fasteners, MRO, and safety products, along with value-added services like kitting and assembly, 3D printing, and engineering assistance. Find out what Worth can do for you at worthindustry.com.
Hello everyone, Ashley Parker with Parker Fasteners. Do you have a dual source for socket product lines? With everything going on in the world, don't get caught single-sourced. Bring solutions to your customers' needs. Begin investing in domestic products. You will decrease transportation, lead times, increase sustainability, and you'll be carrying quality products you can trust. Start forging your future by enhancing your supply chain. Join the movement and call Parker Fasteners today. Forged USA.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, and we're talking about plating or putting any kind of coatings onto socket head cap screws. Now, generally, when we think about the risks of plating socket head cap screws, we think hydrogen embrittlement, and that applies to both inch socket head cap screws from A574 because they're very hard and very strong, above HRC 39. That's our trigger point, and also in the metric world 10.9 socket screws, which are at the level of 1200 megapascals, also above HRC 39. So we all know there's hydrogen embrittlement risks with those, and we know how to mitigate them. We essentially have to have a good risk control strategy in play, which means, first off, whose risk is it? Always remember, the person who specifies the plating owns the risk. And if that's your customer, you need to make it clear that they own the risk. Doesn't mean you're not responsible to control the risk, not only in ways that are specified, such as maybe on the purchase order, the drawing, or the standard. And that includes things like making sure the part is in conformance in the first place. It's not overly hardened, for example. Making sure the part gets properly plated, it gets properly baked, and it gets properly tested. So those are the ways that we can, if we have a good hydrogen embrittlement risk mitigation strategy, we can absolutely prevent hydrogen embrittled product from getting into the supply chain. Notice I did not say, we cannot absolutely prevent hydrogen embrittlement. It can still happen. But if we do everything right, we can make sure that part does not end up out there in the world somewhere where some damage can occur. So let's put that aside for a minute. And by the way, the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Labs can assist you in all kinds of ways to help you with your hydrogen embrittlement risk mitigation strategy. So on to the other risk that we associate with plating socket screws, and this applies primarily to inch socket head cap screws that are made to a dimensional standard ASME B18.3. Now, the issue there is those screws have a thread class or tolerance called 3A for external threads. And what that means is the manufacturer has the opportunity or option to make that screw all the way up to the maximum material condition. So there is no room for plating, potentially. We don't have that issue in the metric world because all metric screws, sockets, and otherwise in their thread class have a allowance for plating. So we're going to put the metric aside and focus on the inch screws. So because these inch screws have no allowance for plating, one of the ways that we can mitigate the chances of our plating being so thick that it busts through that maximum material condition and creates a condition where the go thread gauge will not go or potentially the part will not assemble is we can inspect them before we send them out for plating. Now, because that 2A tolerance gives us an allowance for plating and the 3A tolerance does not, ideally, we would like these socket screws to have a 2A tolerance. But you know what? There's a really good chance that they do because there's a big overlap between 2A and 3A, and the manufacturer generally is not going to make that part right up to the edge of the requirement. So we can inspect them in a couple of different ways. One way is we can check them with a 2A go ring gauge, and if they go, they theoretically have room for plating. And even if the 2A ring gauge does not go, another way that we can inspect them is with a variables gauging system, which gives us an actual number of where that thread lives in its tolerance zone. And there's a pretty good chance, and this happens 80% of the time, that that screw has enough room for plating. So that is our first strategy, is we make sure that we don't have a screw that's very close to the edge. And where we're going to run into this trouble is, in particular, is very small screws, number 10 and below, 1032 and 1024, and fine threads in almost any size. So those are the two areas we need to be concerned about primarily. So once we know that this fastener has a room for plating, it's safe to plate it and expect that it's going to be okay. But then we have to know it's going to be okay, and we do that by after it's plated, we can check it with a 3A go ring gauge, or we can use the variables gauging system that gives us an actual number. But we have to be careful. There's two types of checks we can make with variables gauging. One is we can check the pitch diameter, which only looks at one thread at a time, and that must pass. But what the requirement is we use a system called multi-rib rolls, which checks for the assemblability of the screw, similarly to how our threaded ring gauge would check it. So we have to use the multi-rib rolls, and that will tell us for sure. It checks a series of thread pitches, about a diameter's worth. That will tell us for sure that that part will be assemblable. Now, in very small screws, we have a very small allowance for plating. The screw in question was a 632, and it only has a 2/10,000ths allowance for plating. And as you may or may not know, whenever we apply plating to a screw thread, it increases the pitch diameter by 4 times the coating thickness. And in this case, the customer had specified a very common coating thickness for fasteners from ASTM F1941M, and that designation was FVZN5AT. Now, 5 says we have a minimum of 2/10,000ths thickness. Now, that's going to give us 8/10,000ths on the screw, and we have a potential to bust right through that requirement for that very small screw. So we advise the customer to back off on that and use FEZN3, which is a maximum of 1/10,000ths. And even though there still is some risk, it's much less that we will end up with a situation where we're going to have the thread not pass the ring gauge test or the thread inspection test, or where we will have an assemblability issue. One other thing we can do is we can send the ring gauge to the plater and ask the plater to check the part with our Go ring gauge. Be very careful, because sometimes the plater will end up putting your ring gauge in with the parts, and then it's ruined. So make sure you put that in a separate package. Ask me how I know about that. For the most part, if they plate fasteners, they're very willing to do that. And some good fastener platers actually have their own ring gauges, and they can perform that check for you. So let's say, once again, we end up at a situation where we've done everything right, and here we are, oh crap, these screws won't take the ring gauge. One of the things that the customer needs to understand is, because they asked you to do this, and there's ways to present this to the customer in a very effective and training and value-added way, is that it's their risk. So when they realize it's their risk, we're going to have to reprocess these screws. What are we going to do? Well, one thing that you should absolutely do, and the customer generally will go along with this, is okay, they don't take the ring gauge, but will they screw into the hole that they're supposed to go into? Almost 100% of the time, even though they don't take the ring gauge, they will still be assemblable. That means that when the end user made that hole or that nut that screw is going to go into, that they didn't make it at the maximum limit either. There's a little bit of space there. So if the part will assemble, there's absolutely no reason not to use it, even though it may not take the 3A ring gauge after plating. One other risk, this is very rare, but it can occur, especially with coatings that are dip spin. And that is, sometimes we might get drive fill in, or the drive of the screw gets too much plating in it, and then it won't take the driver, the key or the Torx bit or whatever. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen with very small screws. The saving grace there is plating does not throw very well into internal surfaces, such as the drive. But when that occurs, generally it's just a matter of being able to realize, hey, the driver may not go in easily, but it will go in. And if you've overdone it on the drive, you're probably way overdone it on the thread. So that would be the least of your problems. Well, I hope that informs you about the risks associated with plating socket screws, which they are very controllable, and we can help you do that at Carver Labs. We can do that for you, as a matter of fact, and we do. We have a nice bundle test that allows us to check your screws before they go out and check them for you after they come back, for both dimensional issues and also for hydrogen embrittlement. Well, that is your Fastener Training Minute. This has been Carmen Vertullo. Thank you for listening.
This is Tracy Lumia of Distributors Link magazine, the #1 publication in the fastener industry. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
There's a definite theme to this episode of the podcast, if you haven't noticed, and it's Vegas. Whether you were there or not, half the fun of these shows is talking about it afterwards. And I'm fortunate right now, I've got two of the headliners at this year's International Fastener Expo with me, Rosa Hearn with Brighton Best and Matt Boyd, Parker. Hi, guys.
Hello. Hi, Eric. And hello, everyone.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Eric.
I was glad to run into you at the BBI Shindig after day one. And it was just, I don't know what to say. It's a whirlwind. We're back. Rosa, thank you for inviting me to that party. It was great as usual, and you pulled out all the stops, didn't you?
Oh, of course, of course. But I was really proud of IFE. So I do a lot of the logistics on the back end, and I deal with all these people from IFE. And I believe this is the first time they were actually really well organized, really well thought out. Even the advertising was fantastic. So I was really proud of just the IFE team alone. And I really enjoyed the show.
I want to second that, Rosa. For the first time, we had, their team, the IFE team, Shannon was like reaching out, texting and calling, going, "Hey, I need your stuff. We're ready for it. Let's go." And that was wonderful to have that organization just on the ball and on the offense, making sure that everything was going to kick off without any hitches. So kudos to Shannon, Morgan, and everyone at the IFE. I think most attended event ever. And I didn't, foresee any issues, and they did an excellent job.
Is that right? I didn't hear that yet. I didn't see the official statistics, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if you guys would have any reason to know this, but over the years, we've been dealing with this one lady. She seems like the senior lady at the desk, at registration. Her name's Blanche. She has the white hair. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
She's there like every year. And for some reason in the early years, we just had, we hit it off. And so now every year it's kind of a thing. And I was wondering if she would be there. And sure enough, there she was. So I gave her a big hug. And I don't know, we got kind of a thing going now, Rosa. Blanche and
I agree. She's, it's very interesting because she does remember me. So I specifically go to her, and I needed help for a couple of things. And she helped me, and it was so wonderful.
I had to do a little thing, a scramble at the beginning and grab a few guest passes, and there was no problem. It just went smoothly because, hey, let's face it, I'm tight with Blanche. So when did you roll into town this time, Matt? What was your kickoff to the whole thing?
So, being in Arizona, it's just a short drive. So we loaded Ryan, Cuss, and myself. We loaded up our trucks with golf clubs, booth, gear, and just everything we needed, and headed off, early part of Saturday or Sunday morning. And of course, I had to turn around about, quarter of the way in because I forgot one of the most important items in my garage. But so I was a little later arriving on Sunday. But
hang on, what was this that you forgot that was so important you had to turn around quarter of the way?
So Robert and I, and really our team has been working on this patented new product, Twister Fastener, and we had a backup supply with me, and Rob Rosenberg had the the show quality parts, and so the backups were left in my garage. So my wife was nice enough to meet me halfway from Wickenburg, Arizona, back to Phoenix, and I was able to, get the backup supplies and get back on the road. So there was a little bit of a hitch getting out, but
thank you, dear.
Yes.
Wow, you have a good wife. I thought I had a good husband, but you have a good wife.
Kudos to Patty. Thank you, babe.
Yeah, I saw that post out there on LinkedIn a couple days back, Rosa. Your ode to your hubby there for making Rosa the Riveter a thing, and hats off to you for acknowledging all that. You're a team, and what a guy. Yeah, he's definitely your rock, isn't he?
He's more than that. I was really surprised. Until this day, he holds it over my head that I wanted to be a stewardess, and so it's one of those things where, when we get upset with each other, he's like, go on and be a stewardess. But if you haven't read the post, it's, he really supports me. He's behind me, and he's really the one taking care of our son. So I love him.
Yeah, that was a real sweet post. Well, so then, Matt, once you got your supply of Twister backups and all that, you headed north, and what happened?
Yep. Everything worked out just fine. We got our supplies for our suite for our customers, and got to the hotel, and Ron was nice enough, since he was ahead of us, to check into all of our rooms. So no waiting in line. We just grabbed our stuff and brought it up, and Sunday was like a calm. Sunday evening was a calm night. Didn't want to get too crazy because golf was early Monday morning, and I had a couple customers ask me, "Hey, what time's tee off?" And I on purpose told him 30 minutes earlier, just so I could talk him into going to bed, so I could catch some sleep.
I thought you were angling for an edge out there on the course. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, you always have an angle there, Matt.
Typically I would, but golf is just not. I'm not winning any contests in golf.
Got it. Okay, but this is what I really was leading up to, because I don't really have too much detail on all that. I was supposed to have a report from Big Country, but he was so hot on the chase. I know that they did really well this year. They didn't take it, but they were on the hunt. So how did it go?
Golf was so much fun. We got there nice and early, obviously, and so did my customers, and we're able just to connect with everyone. And once you get in your cart and go to your hole, you're kind of a little bit on an island, and you can pass people from time to time. But it was nice. We had Tim from Sims and Specials, Mallory and Brandy, Mallory from Advanced, and Brandy from NSQL behind us, so we're able to connect with them and talk to them from time to time. But it was a really good morning, sunshine, no clouds, as typical out in the desert, and had a lot of fun. I could hear some hooting and hollering. I think Tim behind us from Sims and Specials shot 2 eagles. So that's pretty impressive. He's a good golfer. Yeah, he's a good golfer. But we had fun. The last hour and a half was kind of hot, and we had some things planned after golf. So I think we played all but one holes, and so the very last hole we had to cut out a little early and race back and get cleaned up for the things we had planned later that day.
You're bionic. Meanwhile, Rosa, you were scrambling to get that amazing booth for Brighton set up, weren't you? You were working away.
Yeah, so we invited 40 people, but 20 of them came in on Saturday. I came in Sunday morning. Since I'm from California, I can drive there. And we literally started setting up. We actually do everything ourselves, and that includes building the platform. Plus, we had to organize a party for 400. We had to do a sales meeting for 60. So it takes a lot of time for us to actually build it, market it, and decorate it.
Yeah, I'll say. Do you ever get any flack from the unions out there in Las Vegas and the exhibit hall? It doesn't seem like it's a thing there. It must be one of these so-called right-to-work states.
It is. I mean, it's union. We don't get really flack because we follow the rules. Like, one of the rules is you can't really bring rollers or anything with 4 wheels. So you have to hand carry everything. So we're literally hand carrying everything inside into the booth. Anything that needs to be built, as long as you don't use a lift, as long as you don't need anything that needs to be hung up within the actual walls, we can build it ourselves. So we've been doing this for a very long time. I think Brighton Best has been exhibiting the IFE, or at the time it was NIFSC show for a long time. But we know the rules. We understand what we can and cannot do. We did add something special, which is the ring, and so we did give Freeman to actually lift that ring up into the booth. But for the most part, we follow the procedures.
Wow. Yeah, try doing that in Chicago. You're liable to get your whole exhibit painted orange before they put it in the crates. But you also brought Handzilla. That was pretty good to see.
We did. That weighs so much. I think it weighs like 500 pounds.
You didn't hand carry that, Rosa.
No, we put it in crates, and we actually use Freeman to hold the crates. I think we use like 12 crates total to actually make IFE what IFE is.
Okay, so the booths were set up. Yours looked awesome also for Parker, Matt. And next thing, I guess, on the hit parade for this event was the welcome reception out by the pool. It was very well attended this year. I got to say that those light up lays they were giving out, they looked really great from a distance. But man, after the sun went down, try having a conversation with somebody wearing those, on full pulse. It was like an MK Ultra experience.
Yeah, we helped sponsor the welcome reception, and I got to give kudos to Ron Cuss. He's probably one of the best marketers in our industry. He is always, planning. We're already having a planning meeting for 2024 today after this podcast, but we came up with this idea a few months back, and also got to give his wife kudos because she took them all out and organized them for us. We had them in bags. Like I said, Shannon was really good about getting our table set up way in advance, making sure that we had all of our supplies there. And it was a lot of fun. I really like being able to, have our company sponsor the giveaways and the give outs when people are walking in. It was a chance to just kind of lock eyes with everyone, say hello, thank them for coming out. Everyone got a, Parker koozie. And, it was a really good kickoff. And I know once the sun went down, kind of looking out over the entire event and seeing those lays blinking, all throughout, that reception, that was pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe so many cabanas were being used. Like, for
Yes.
I remember in the beginning of IFE, it had maybe one cabana with the cigars, and then 2 cabana with Wi-Fi, and then 3 cabanas with the Hall of Famers and the Fastener professionals. And then all of a sudden, this year, all the cabanas were taken up. I think H.W. Eckhart even had a cabana, and it had the Green Bay Packers game on. And so they wanted to make sure they saw the game. It was fantastic.
Yeah, there were several TVs. A lot of people were glued to them watching that game. I don't know. I'm mixed about that. It added to the excitement. I mean, the cabanas were really cool. Don't get me wrong, but having the games on, I don't know. But those lays being everywhere, and then the light up behind the DJ, on stage, it was just an exciting setting with the crowd spilling out on all sides. That didn't seem like during the height of it there were any real dead zones. So it was a full-fledged party.
It was a lot of fun too. The music was loud, but it wasn't too loud, so you could still hear when you're talking to folks. And no one ended up in the pool, so I call that a success.
Yeah, we all kind of hold our breath every year, but another year nobody had to use the emergency snorkel.
I noticed they had a lifeguard there sitting there, just kind of waiting for something to happen.
Oh, yeah, they always do. At one year, they had 2 gals. Jake and I did an interview right before. I don't know if I necessarily would have wanted to fall in the pool. I don't know if they would have been able to help us. But anyway, yeah, they're there in case. Okay, so that was the party. And I guess there are a whole bunch of headlines there waiting to come out during the next gathering. And of course, you'll see all the photos in Link Magazine, or they're probably all over the social media platforms right now. So day 1 of the show, it's Tuesday morning, and you hear that storming, that rumbling off in the distance. You're waiting in your booth. I mean, how excited were you this time, Rosa?
Oh my gosh, it was packed. I walked around, like that YFE booth, for example. There was a long line for people that wanted to take their portrait shots. When I walked around, there was like so many people. It was hard to it was just hard to say hi to everybody. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's the cool thing during those opening hours, and that crush of people piles in. And I'm glad that I had a chance to stop over right before the gates opened and get my chance to pose in a photo in Handzilla. And of course, I brought my pair of ironclads with me all the way from Shagbark. And I've been doing various tasks around the farm with those gloves. And I felt like, to really come full circle with them, I had to bring them back to Vegas where I originally got them and sort of show you that, hey, I put them to good use.
You did. Thank you so much. I can't believe how worn out they are. You really do use them. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. They're great.
We got to thank BTM for putting out the coffee. Everybody needed that coffee that very next morning. So thank you.
The U-Bolt blend was flowing, and this year Jake did it a little bit differently. He put the giant table out in the main aisle rather than having it in his booth. And when I went over there to BTM, I kind of beat him up a little bit, which I now kind of regret because, it actually was smart. When I finally made it over there, I saw how much coffee he actually served. And, of course, the Zarfs were everywhere and all the BTM name flying around. I think that was a really good job, and definitely I needed it. So thanks a lot, Jake.
Amen.
Did you see the doggies from Crossroads? They brought a Great Dane. They brought Golden Retrievers. They brought so many dogs. It was wonderful.
Now, what was your take on all that? I did see all that going on. It was right across from your booth. I'm sure you made friends with those guys. What was that all about?
Well, they partner up with Pets for Care, and they wanted to show awareness and bring in food for all these animals. And so they were hoping that people would make donations or people would volunteer or just get attention in the booth. But I thought that was really nice, to bring in pets and let them know and show awareness. It didn't bother me. It brought more traffic to our booth, because we're showing off everything from welding consumables to ironclad to preferred and even all the stainless stuff that we brought in. So I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was definitely a first that I can remember seeing dogs walking around the floor, and they were very well behaved. And I think it's quite appropriate too, because hey, let's face it, there's a lot of fastener dogs in this industry, and more is better as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, we practice Furry Fridays at Parker, and it's we didn't have one show up today, but it's a lot of fun, having a shop dog around once a week.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so what were you really exposing at the show this year, Matt? What was the big headline from Parker's booth?
So the biggest headline was our partnership with BBI, carrying domestic sockets, made in USA, DFARS approved, high quality product through a world-class master distributor, BBI. So we couldn't have been happier. We kind of felt, now I'm a little jaded, I know, but I felt like that was the biggest news of the week. We had just a lot of communication with a lot of different folks in our industry over it. And, from just congratulations, that's awesome, to how's this going to work, to, some of the, what products and so forth, or can this be a start of, some other things I can get through Brighton Best, from Parker. So overall, really excited to have the opportunity to showcase our product and our company through, a world-class leader in BBI.
Wow.
So every year at the Brighton Best IFE booth, we announce something new. Last year, we announced the welding consumables. The year before that, we did silicon bronze, brass, and the stainless steel hose clamps. And this year was our partnership with Parker Fasteners on domestic sockets for 2024. So that's actually going to start in 2024. And what we did was we actually did a survey because we want this partnership to grow. We want this partnership, to be stronger in the future. And so we want to know what to bring in. And so the survey indicated hey, do you want us to do hex cap screws? What do you want us to do? So we're hoping that people can actually ask us about the survey and then fill it out and then get that information.
Wow, this is huge. Well, congratulations to you, and thank you for using Fully Threaded as another platform for making the announcement. I know it's late or the second go, but hey, we'll take it. And now, let me ask you this, Rosa, when you do a survey like that, and I'm curious about this because obviously we do our monthly survey of the industry for the Fastener Distributor Index. What kind of a format do you use when you gather this kind of intel from the industry?
So I currently use SurveyMonkey, but SurveyMonkey is really nice because you can format it any way you want, whether it's multiple questions, comments. And so that's what we did. It was 5 simple questions, multiple choice, and it was just very easy for anybody to click during the show. So it didn't take time. It literally took less than 1 minute. And we actually are going to do a drawing to see if anybody would win just by participating in the survey.
Always nice to have a little payback in there to inspire extra input. Okay, so SurveyMonkey, I'm not really, I shouldn't really be surprised by that. It's a tool a lot of people talk about. Brian and I, of course, had to do everything the hard way, so we wrote our own, and it gets the job done, but just another source of bugs to always be dealing with. So, but that's the FCH way, I guess. So what kind of response did you receive over at the Parker booth when you told people about this? How did it go over?
Well, first I want to say that we typically have a decent booth as far as visitors and people coming by, and we stay pretty busy. But, the Brighton Best team, they have a really good staff of team members there at the show. And, it was great. They were bringing their customers over to us to talk specifically about the product. And, we were able to answer questions and engage them about it. And that added, a whole nother level of intensity at the show, which was great. We loved it. They have some really good customers that, had some really good questions. So that was a new, addition to the show that we really sincerely enjoyed. But, overall, the the show was really good. We had a lot of visitors. My only complaint, and it's no one's fault, but I had quite a few people I wanted to see, and it seemed like they all came in waves at one time. And so it's always difficult when you have, a couple people at one time come and they want to talk to you. How do you manage that? That's kind of tough, So we had people there, and so my team members were able to connect with them, which is great. But I didn't get all the connections that I was hoping for. But overall, it was a really good show. Very steady flow of folks. It seemed like there was just a lot of positivity. A lot of folks were there for a purpose, and it was great to be part of it. Just overall great experience.
Yeah, there's definitely a strategy to keeping people around your booth when the crush comes, and having people who just sort of hold the people you want to talk to nearby while you handle whatever's going on, at that moment. And sometimes you can pull it off, and other times it's just sort of a fleeting missed opportunity that, you hope you can follow up later. But yeah, that's the nature of show business.
That's right.
And Rosa, did John and Peggy make it to the booth, actually? I mean, was that a celebrity appearance they made? Or because I did see him at your after party.
They're always there. We also have a meeting room at the booth. And so, everybody would like to talk to John and Peggy, of course. So for the most part, they're having meetings, but they're always there. They're hard workers, and I was really happy to see them at October Best. That was our theme of our party. You know what the funny thing about that is that we used to just have a regular cocktail party. It was just a standard cocktail party. And one cocktail party landed on Halloween. So we did a Halloween theme. And every year, everybody asks, so what's the theme this year? So what's the theme this year? And so now I have to come up with a theme. So I'm trying to come up with the theme for next year, but this year was October Best.
Interesting. Well, I just found out that the show's about a month earlier next year, and one of the days will be September 11th. So, there's an idea for you.
No, but September 9th through 11th is the show. And I have my work cut out for me on that.
It was probably a bad idea. You're a better marketer than that, though.
Oh, well, thank you. But I want to congratulate not only you and Brian for the Hall of Fame, but George Hunt. It's always nice to have one of our own, be nominated and actually accept an award. So it's fantastic. So it's nice to see. And then we had Mike White do a panel for young fastener professionals on mentorship. So I'm really proud of my team. I think they do a lot of hard work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And if you haven't met a Brighton Best person, you'll see how hardworking they are. And I hope that, you give us a chance to actually, have a conversation with you, because I think you would enjoy it. I think you would enjoy being part of the Brighton Best family.
Well, thank you for pointing all that out, Rosa. And that's one thing about Brighton that nobody will ever disagree with. Everybody there is really diligent and hardworking, but you also keep a fun appearance to the whole thing too at the same time. So that's really cool, and a generous spirit about it. And I have to say, Matt, having visited your facility a time or two and dealing with you over the years, I think probably a very similar thing could be said about Parker Fasteners. Probably makes it an even better partnership arrangement.
Yeah, very much so. And thank you for saying that. Ashley Parker, Casey Schroeder, Rick Simpson, and Ryan Cuss were all in the booth. And we do have a similar culture. We don't have the awards, the names on the brick wall there, like some of the other companies yet. Yeah. But, we're, when it comes to BPI and the Parker partnership, we have very similar cultures. Peggy and John run a very good company, and Robert Parker, our founder and president, has a lot of similar qualities. So it's really nice that we can partner between our companies, and when you have folks like Rosa and George Hunt and even meeting Virgil, the unsung hero there at BBI that sets that booth up and tears it down every year. It was really neat to see their inner workings and their culture and how similar they are to ours. So definitely kudos to George for the award of Hall of Fame. Couldn't have happened to a better guy in the industry.
And Brighton's wall to wall with them, that's for sure. Steve Andrasic did a marvelous job on the introduction too, and that's another cool thing about the company is the relationships that the various players have with one another. So you could tell it's really based on mutual respect that flows out to the customers. It all works. Speaking of partnerships in this, let's add yet another name to the mix. Parker is partnered up with SmartCert, right? And so these parts are going to be impacted by that partnership, will they not?
That is correct. Yes, they sure will.
That's going to flow all the way through.
That's right. One of the customers that they brought over, BBI brought over to talk about our product was, asking about certs and how will that work. And I was able to navigate and explain how SmartCert worked and how it flows through the distribution channels. They're very happy to hear that. And yeah, Lyndon and Lonnie were there at the show working hard. And, it was really, really nice to be able to incorporate their business and how it impacts us and our customers, with the new partnership with BBI.
Rosa, getting back to the after party that you had after day one of the show, do you happen to know who won that waterproof Bluetooth speaker?
Oh,
I was really
no.
hoping. I put all my tickets in that box. I didn't.
No. They would have given it to you if you would have won. So Virgil's actually a very good MC. He's actually a DJ on the side.
Well, yeah, I knew it wasn't me, but you don't happen to know who that was, huh? Darn.
No, but I can find out.
All right. Well, you had a great, there was a whole bunch of really great prizes for that. And Matt, you were so swamped with people. I didn't even really, outside the lobby visit that we had, I didn't even see in there. So we were just floating around like Fastener Maven, and well, it's a blur. So day two came, and again, the U-Bolt blend coffee was flowing out there in the main aisle. Thank goodness. And a little quieter on that morning. What'd you make of day two, guys?
Well, for us, it started off early in the morning. So we had another exhibitor, come and meet with us before the show started. So we got an early start, which is great. And, we wanted to spend, some ample time with the BBI folks. So spent some time in their booth. We also introduced the Twister Fastener to them, which I'll go ahead and, plug it real quick. It's a blind hole threaded anchor. That can be used in metal or composite or all different types of materials. But essentially, we think it can be used in a lot of wide ranges of applications, from RVs and buses and heavy truck and, some agriculture. When we brought Scott Gibson over to take a look at it, he said that one of his personal friends in the racing business could have used it last weekend in his race. So, we're super excited about it, and we just developed it. It's going to be, hopefully available in the marketplace in the next, 4 to 5 months. And it comes in quarter 20 and M6 by 1.0. And it's all made of stainless steel, designed in the U.S. We, for commercial applications, we're importing it. We do have some plans in the aerospace industry as well, and that will be made in the USA. So, and we also have titanium in the works as well, just for the folks that are concerned with weight and strength. So overall, I think it was a great opportunity to show a lot of people. We had quite a few people on Tuesday and on Wednesday come by and see it, and they said, "That's great. Can we get it from BBI?" So, it's just one of those things where we think it's going to do very well. Twister Fastener is the name. And hopefully, everyone on the podcast will know about it, and we'll be able to provide it to their customers sooner than later.
I think at the beginning, it was a really nice turnout. I think by 2:00, it really died out. People just went to lunch and it was kind of over. But, in the morning, I was kind of proud of it. I thought a lot of people showed up in the next day.
Yeah, it's pretty much what people expect at these shows. And so I think at that time, everybody's gotten what they need, and that's how it flows. Did you notice, because I was gone by that moment, did you hear any kind of a closing announcement over the PA at all?
No, I did not.
Can't say I did.
Okay. I didn't hear one at the beginning of the show either, and they might have just decided they didn't want to do that because it's usually so hard to hear and everybody's always busy anyway. They never really pay attention. But I remember in the old days how Jim Bannister used to come on and threaten everybody to not take down your booth before the appointed moment, you know?
I remember that.
He would
I
say, hey,
remember
if you start breaking down, we're not going to let you back next year. And of course, it was over the rumbling of all the crates rolling out, you know? So I guess they decided that wasn't really,
I
really
think
in
we
the
lost a
plan.
lot of people to the sphere. You know, did you get a chance to do the sphere? Oh my goodness, I did. It was amazing. They had like 5 AI robots inside. And honestly, you didn't even have to buy a ticket. You can just see a show just by watching the sphere. It was amazing.
Were you there in the daylight or were you there after the sun went down?
No, I went there after the sun went down. Well, what happened was I kept running into everybody. I ran into Tracy, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the Sphere. I ran into Pam at Advanced Components. Tracy from Link Magazine, by the way. So Pam from Advanced Components, they're like, yeah, we're going to see the U2 concert at the Sphere. And I ran into Volt from Heidi at Volt. And she's like, yeah, we're going to go to the Sphere. And I was like, I want to go to the Sphere. And so everybody I knew was going to the Sphere. And so that's what we did. All of us just went to the Sphere. It was amazing.
How cool. Yeah, I talked to Tim O'Keefe and his wife at the opening bash, and they had just gotten back from the U2 concert, and they said it was like the most amazing concert experience they'd have ever had, and they've had a lot of them. So I didn't make it over, but I'm glad you brought that into the conversation because that's definitely a new major attraction in Vegas. We'll have to hit it next year.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. You see VR, like you see an airplane actually fly over you, but it's literally just pixelated. You see 5 AI robots talking, having a full-blown conversation, and it was just amazing. And then the actual show, you felt you were there. You felt like you can touch it. It was just simply amazing.
Wow. Yeah, when you said that with the jets and all that, I'm sure Ryan's probably listening to this getting marketing ideas for next year, Matt.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine? All right, I can. I mean, after what you did this year, you pulled out all the stops and, well, that's what Brighton always does and Parker Fasteners does. And we've been talking with Rosa Hearn from Brighton Best International, Matt Boyd, Parker Fasteners. They were at this year's International Fastener Expo. It was the 2023 edition. A lot of fun. We only really scratched the surface on this, and I guess the rest of it's going to come out in memories that we share at meetings down the road over the years, and I'm just glad we had a chance to revisit a little bit of it here today.
Well, thank you for having us. We want to make sure that this partnership grows, and so we're really excited to be partnered with Parker, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds.
Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, we feel the same way. We see BBI as an opportunity to reach a lot of distributors in the U.S. that just didn't really have the buying strength to buy production type runs from Parker Fasteners. So with the partnership between our companies, we really feel like the sky's the limit. It's going to start with this initial package. And over the years, we think it's really going to develop to a great partnership and opportunity to reach many more distributors in the fastener industry.
I love it.
I find this industry very interesting because I've actually known Matt for a very long time. We've never actually did business together. We've never actually, officially, had conversations about work because, we just saw each other at the trade shows and we became friends. And then all of a sudden now we're partners. So this industry is actually kind of amazing to me.
Yep. It's full of stories just like that. I love it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Rosa. Yeah, we've, and it's been many, many years. I mean, I've been with Parker 10 years and I think we've been catching up and just had a relationship for almost that whole time. And when we started, the exploring BBI, it was a little bit of a, surreal moment for us because, you guys have been in the socket business from the very beginning. And even at one point you were, domestically manufacturing and supplying them in the U.S. and just to be able to offer a product category that kind of goes back to the roots of BBI and, the understanding that you guys have in the market is just second to none. So just to be able to have our product on the BBS platform, e-commerce, and same day or next day shipping that you guys offer, we just couldn't be happier. We really think that our customers are going to appreciate the opportunity to get domestic product and with the world that we're living in right now, with all the uncertainty, politics wise or wars or whatnot. It's just nice to know that American manufacturing is alive and well and partnered with a first class organization to get it out to the right people at the right time.
Well said, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, these partnerships, again, they're a thing that it's not unique to the fastener industry, but we sure seem to have our share of them that blossom this way, and really cool. So thanks again, Matt, Rosa, and all of you out there for listening in, because you're partners of the podcast and you help us roll. Talk to you in the near future, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you so much. Fully Threaded Radio and Eric.
Talk to you in just a moment, folks. It's Fully Threaded.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our product offerings to better meet your requirements. In addition to BBI's expanding stainless steel fasteners, Brighton Best International is now offering a wide selection of hose clamps, silicone bronze, and brass fasteners, available in all regional locations. Visit the BBI website to view the educational hose clamp video, now available on the BBI homepage. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best International.
This is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and for over 50 years, we have been a leading manufacturer of bent wire and threaded products, including U-bolts, single and double end studs, anchor bolts, and many more per-print items. Based in the heart of America, Kansas City, Missouri, BTM supports Fully Threaded Radio because they support our fastener industry. Being a part of FTR is almost as good as a hot cup of industry favorite U-bolt blend coffee. And if you still don't know how good that is, call BTM Manufacturing today and find out for yourself. BTM Manufacturing, commitment to service.
At Star Stainless, the sum of all we do is what we consider star quality. It's not just the quality of the products or the service we offer, but the overall approach to the way we do business. Star Stainless Screw Company is a division of Linfast Solutions Group.
This is Pam Berry with Advanced Components. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
You know, Bri, Rosa and Matt were just starting to get warmed up, really, when we had to turn the mic off there.
Yeah, I can tell.
Like everybody else, they were just buried after Vegas, and I rushed them into getting that recording done as soon as possible because it was so exciting with the big announcement they had. And they made me promise to have them back on the show in the near future so we could have a little bit more of a relaxed, fun-loving kind of a segment. So we'll hear from Rosa and Matt again in the near future.
Good.
Oh, by the way, Rosa also wanted to point out that although she's thrilled to be in business with Parker now and glad that SmartCert is in the mix, Brighton is not a SmartCert partner as of yet, but very glad that all that Parker material will be fully SmartCert enabled.
Cool.
So thanks to Rosa Hearn of Brighton Best and Matt Boyd, Parker Fasteners, for being with us today.
And thanks to Rosa for always sending out these invitations to the BBI after show do, which is we've attended really as often as it's been run, I think. It's always a very, very well run affair, and Rosa makes sure that we get these little raffle tickets where you go and choose which box you want to put your ticket in.
Yeah, we talked about that. It was a good one this year. October Best. I love it.
Yeah.
Also, Craig Penland, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service. Mike McNulty and Quinn Fredrickson of Baird broke down the Fastener Distributor Index dip with dignity and grace, plus got a little football talk in there too.
Wow, I can't imagine how Mike let that slip through.
Real crowd pleaser this time. And of course, Carmen Vertullo had the Fastener Training Minute. Thanks, everybody. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, Tested, Tried, True, Brighton Best, Global Fasteners, quality the first time. Go Global and Star Stainless, right off the shelf. It's Star. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, J. Franco, Parker Fasteners, Solution Industries, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, and Worth Industry North America. We salute all our partners. They make the podcast possible. They've made a lot possible for us over the years, Bri, and like to take this opportunity also, since we are thanking folks for doing a lot for FCH and Fully Threaded over the years, for Brian and Eric, point out that we had a few other sponsors over the years who had a role in that too. Beacon Fasteners and Components, ND Industries, Lindstrom Metric, that's pre-Lindfast days, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, and of course, Stelfast. I pointed out during our remarks in Vegas that they were the first to really put money down, some serious money, and say, this is good for the industry, keep it up. We appreciate it. Simi, it did a lot for us in those days, and we haven't forgotten that. So let us know what you think of the show, folks. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. Getting back to that whole abbreviated thank you list, we didn't spend too much time going down the list, while we were up there on the stage in Vegas at the Hall of Fame ceremony. I don't know, personally, I find those kinds of speeches to get a little old, when you have all these people lined up, but you want to thank everybody,
Right, and you end up forgetting the very things you meant, the ones you especially want to, because you're in the moment you're worrying about whether anyone can hear you or whether you've remembered all the right things, so it gets slightly awkward.
Right. Yeah, that's another big one. You're right about the people you might forget. And I think people overall are understanding, but let's face it, everybody likes to be acknowledged. And right at the top of the list, we'll put two gentlemen whose contributions are invaluable to Fully Threaded Radio. That's Mike McNulty with Fastener Technology International magazine. His Fastener News Report, everybody loves it. And Carmen Vertullo. He's an industry expert. Currently, he's driving his business, Carver Consulting, along. The Fastener Training Minute, it's become a staple of the industry. People have learned so much. Guys, you've added a level of depth and a dimension to the podcast that we can't imagine doing without you. We feel so blessed to have met you and to have you as contributors to the podcast. Thanks, guys. And on our big day out in Vegas this year, I was so glad and honored to have my folks and my brother come out. Mom and Dad and Joe came out from Arizona and Sacramento, and that meant a lot. Many people came up to me and said they had a wonderful time meeting them. And of course, my mom was thrilled. You know this, Bri, but way back when, she actually had a job. The lore is, while she was pregnant with me, I don't know if that's actually how it went, but she was working for Industrial Distribution magazine back in the 60s.
She claims that's where you got your intro into the fastener industry.
Yeah.
Hearing it while she was pregnant.
Right. She was talking to Chris over at Fastener News Desk and giving an interview. I don't know if that's really what Chris thought it was, but my mom did. So we'll see if that rattles around anywhere. But yeah, it was really great to have them. So thanks for coming out if you're listening. I know they are. Also like to thank Marty Nolan, because he was the one who actually called us up. Remember that, Brian?
Yeah, I do.
The news to us that we had been chosen for this honor. So thanks to you, Marty.
Yeah, it's the real surprise. You think, oh shit, what are you saying again?
Yeah, it took a while to register.
And also, let's thank the folks at Emerald who've been putting on this show and are the ones who are actually providing this award. Thank you, everyone. And the FIC for selecting us.
Yeah, 100%, Bri. Morgan and Allie and their whole team at Emerald did a nice job. They did some extra things to make it very nice. The FIC, of course. I don't exactly know what the process is these days, but wow. You know, we did an episode a long time back where Marty and Jackie and I went down to Columbus and rescued the bricks. It's funny, I really hadn't been thinking about that very much. We're going to have to go back and resurrect that one, speaking of the archives. But yeah, just unbelievable experience. And of course, you said it while we were up there, the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey. She's been such a great help to our team over the years. And despite the fact that we don't have the usual sound montage that we come away with from these things, she did a great job again this year. I mean, she's out there hustling all the time. People really have come to love those segments. And let's face it, she's just a great person.
Right. No, I'm slightly biased.
With good reason. And while we're on the subject of thanking partners, Jackie took care of me for a real long time. She opened a lot of doors for us in the early days, Bri.
Yeah, I know.
So a salute to her as well. And so many of the other people who have contributed to the podcast over the years. Early on, it wasn't that easy always to get guests, and people sometimes a little reluctantly came on, especially when we were getting a little outrageous at times in the early years.
You reckon there was a reluctance? Really?
We haven't gotten to the point where we've done any of these best of shows, where we go into the archives, but maybe we're almost due for that. What do you think?
Oh, I do. We have some very, very good recordings. A lot of them are actually initiated with Dan Zender.
That's right. He did his Legends of the Industry series there for a while.
Time ago.
And
yep.
That was, I thought, very well received at the time. We'll have to talk to Dan about that. He's another guy who helped us out quite a bit. There are so many, and we're going to miss them. But just know that we appreciate so much the honor, and we hope to keep bringing you predominantly fastener-related podcasting for the foreseeable future. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, from me too. Yeah, and I sort of muffed up my closing comments. To me, it's been a great experience being involved in the fastener industry. It's not an industry I was in before. I was in straight computer technology. But it's a strange industry that I've come to know, and you specifically see it in the Midwest Fastener Association and the in CFA, probably PacWest too, is that it's a industry where people really are competing in a fairly sort of not a small market, but a restricted type market, fasteners. But even though they're all really at some level competing against each other, they all can actually sit down and have a joke and a beer at the end of the day at these fastener shows. I found that amazing, and it's great to be part of that industry.
Yes, it is. And it's great to be here with you now, and we look forward to the next one. Thanks again. I'd say that about rounds it out, Bri. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is.
We're not that great at this part of it, are we? So we'll just say that's going to put this episode of Fully Threaded Radio in the can. And for Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, and we'll talk to you next time.
Keep listening. We'll see you next time, okay?
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 102.
Hey everybody, Eric Dudas here. Well, it's January 28th. It was a steely, chilly morning here in northeastern Ohio as I set off to pick up some comrades and head off to do a mission of benevolence unto the fastener industry that was all kicked off. Several weeks back, I received a phone call from the traveling salesman. He stumbled into quite an interesting situation when he was visiting down in Columbus. In the nick of time, he may have actually sustained a piece of posterity for the fastener industry. And now, along with Marty Nolan, and kind of a big deal in this industry, Jackie Ventura, I'm headed down. I'm on Highway 71. We're going to the Cleveland Expo Center. Marty Nolan, fill us in on this. How did you get involved in this part of the project?
Well, I was contacted by a traveling salesman about something he stumbled on, and he had been into Columbus. We're actually going to Columbus, Ohio Convention Center, because while he was traveling that area, he made a pilgrimage to the Fastener Hall of Fame. just to check it out and see. He knew from past posts he'd been told by Jim Bannister that there's a physical presence of a Hall of Fame in Columbus, Ohio by the old convention center where the old show was. He snapped some pictures and was told by a construction worker in the area that the Fastener Hall of Fame as it stood was being yanked out of the ground, that the pavers that made up the Fastener Hall of Fame were going to be removed for additional construction on the convention center.
Yeah, well, when I first heard this story, it was a little dramatic because you actually saw there was construction all around, and it looked like the area where the pavers are with all the Hall of Name members' bricks on it were about ready to be torn up, and nobody had any plans to save any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So at that point, he got in contact with me, and he knew I was involved in North Coast Fastener Association, some other associations, asked me if I'd like to jump in and get involved. So at that point, I called the Columbus Convention Center and asked them what was going to happen to the pavers, and they said they did not know. And I gave them my name and contact information, asked that they'd contact me if they couldn't find someone that was going to take the bricks and take possession of them.
Jackie Ventura, what do you make of all this? What are you doing in this in the vehicle going down today with us?
Well, when Marty Nolan told me about this, I thought to myself, wow, this is really a big deal. We need to get these things out of there. So, of course, I know a cute man with a truck. So I decided to see if you wanted to get involved and help Marty and I save the Hall of Fame bricks.
Well, that's the mission we're on, and we should be approaching the greater Columbus area momentarily. We'll sign out for the moment, come back once we get closer with additional thoughts on the Hall of Fame pavers story.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pels from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.